I look like a zombie. Oh,
We're
it's live.
live.
Great.
You look very good, Dan.
I need a better angle.
Yeah, here's my angle there. That's my good angle. Finally, I have a good angle.
I got an angle for you.
All right, that's good.
Boy.
That's awesome.
Oh, never mind. I won't start. Save it for the show.
Save it for the show, my friend. I'm gonna see if that's whack. See, like I subscribe to this, and I said I wanted a notification, and I go to.
Oh, what's up, Shakita?
Oh, Shakita's chilling. What's up, Shakita?
You don't get notifications?
No, I did, but I'm like, go to my YouTube page, and I want to go and like it.
Yeah.
And that's all I want to do, and then we'll get started.
Okay.
This is good stuff. This is when you come and see it live.
Yeah, this is
the stuff you get. You get this great stuff. And when you listen, those people that listen to it on the.
No, this is worth a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is. Okay.
I'm sure Shakita right now is just loving.
She likes the uncut. She likes it. She likes it. The fact that we're raw, we're uncut. All right. Shakita. I think actually it looks like she already liked the stream. So thank you. All right. With our massive amount of people.
Come on. It's 8:00 on a Wednesday. Most people are probably taking a shit.
Hey, Shakita, TV. Sometimes when you say stuff in the chat, I'm just going to say a different person's name, but I'm talking about you, just so it sounds like there's more people on here. I know you're probably not going to mind that. All right. Oh, yeah, I got to pull up my script, my notes. And then we'll probably go a half hour, maybe 2 hours max, okay?
Definitely half an hour.
I mean, if we go an hour 45, it's not going to kill anybody, right?
Maybe Shakita can take over for me if we're going to go that
long. All right. I'm just gonna. It's loading, but I think I can wing it until it loads. Welcome to Better Talk Saul. I'm Dylan Chuck.
And I'm Dan Fields.
In this podcast, we're going to be recapping the second season of the AMC original show, Better Call Saul. In this podcast, we're not pretending that Breaking Bad doesn't exist, so tread lightly if you're concerned about that show's spoilers.
Which at this point, no one is, right? What kind of podcast for Better Call Saul pretends that Breaking Bad never happened? That would be a terrible podcast.
Well, at the beginning, I
know, 10 years ago.
When we first started the podcast, I was like, I got to say something besides, I'm Dylan Chuck and I'm Dan Fields.
That's fair.
And, tread lightly. You got the nice Breaking Bad pun in there, which is good.
So good.
Shout out to our Patreon subscribers, even though our Patreon is dead now because I stopped podcasting for a long time. But if you happen to want to help revitalize it, go to patreon.com/thewatch and talk. And yeah. Dan,
I'm excited.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, what's up, dog?
Why don't you tell the viewers why on the second week of a 16-week goal that we have here, you already don't want to do this?
Can I be completely honest with you? Because I really want to play Elden Ring, the video game. Oh. I'm kind of obsessed with it, and Wednesday night's the only night I get to play.
That hurts my feelings way less than I thought what you were going to say. When you were like, can I be completely honest with you? I was like, oh, he's about to strike hard. He's about to
No. I want to do this. How dare you? But let's talk about Elden Ring. We should do a podcast about that. Any of the listeners at home who play Elden Ring.
So recap all of Elden Ring for me because I've never heard of it.
Well, I know just beat Godric.
Because of you. Beat Godric.
I beat Godric. Level 34. I'm a confessor. All right, moving on. But I did read the Wikipedia for this season of Better Call Saul, and my God,
this might be the best season.
Much.
Season 4 is really good, but yeah, this season we're still dealing with the ripple effects because of this season. This season is just like I had underestimated how much season 2, how memorable it was. so much happens in the season that I thought was spread over several seasons.
Dude, that's exactly what I thought too, and that really goes to show you how every episode has something happen that felt like it could have happened anytime because it was so big. I mean, I don't want to spoil it. I'll let you kind of go through what it is. By the way, you got a haircut. You look nice. This is the kind of thing, if people watch the video, they get to see your handsome haircut and your mustache.
Yeah, Dan's always had nice haircuts. I just started doing haircuts recently. Good. I just shaved my head for a long time. So I'm very handsome, very dapper, and it works really well with my headphones. We did this for a little bit, but not with video. So we are streaming these live Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I know that's not the best time for some people. There's dozens of people in the chat right now, including Shakita. Shout out to Shakita, Greg, Sam, George, a bunch of awesome people in the chat. If you go over to our Twitter at Gus.
See, you also can get. I have an adorable Persian cat who's on the video now.
This.
I mean, tell me this content.
His cat is like an animatronic. It's. I can't believe it's a real cat.
He really is.
He looks like something from Gremlins or something.
Yeah, sorry for you listeners at home, but man, he's a cute boy.
Just another good reason to be tuning in. If you go to our Twitter at Better Talk Saul, we link to it. If you look up the Watch and Talk YouTube channel, it's on there, and you subscribe, and then you can come and tune in, and there's a chat in there to join the conversation. And we realize the majority of listeners are in the audio only channel, so we're gonna keep the content to audio only. But hey, you're gonna miss some things because Dan and I have never recorded staring in each other's eyes like we are now, and it's unavoidable. Yeah. We're gonna address the elephant in the room about our attraction to each other.
A lot of X-rated stuff on the cam.
Right.
It's like chatterbait on here.
So so at the beginning of the season, things aren't good with Chuck and Jimmy, but they just spiral so quick.
Yeah, very passive aggressive.
We get the hilarity of Jimmy trying to get fired from Mesa Verde after seemingly he wasn't going to accept the job in season 1, and then immediately in season 2 he goes back into it, which seemed like a curve in direction, like they had planned on. At the beginning of the finale of season 1, it seemed like he's Saul now.
Right.
Oh, I'm going to be Saul. And then we're like, oh no, he's still Jimmy. He's still Jimmy for a long time. There's plenty. That reminds me of the most recent finale, which if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, he just says Saul. He says, "All good, man," or whatever, and it's all good, man. Yeah, and where we're like, oh, he's become Saul, which is so funny. It's such fodder for Breaking Bad fans because we're like, this is when Walter White became Heisenberg, and when Heisenberg returned to Walter White. Yeah, when he broke bad, exactly. So,
also, something to think about in this part of the show, Chuck is still okay. Like, he's completely jammed up, but he's leaving the house. Like, he leaves at one point, in an episode, he essentially leaves to sandbag Kim getting the Mesa Verde account. Like, he's sick. And then in the season finale, he goes to the copy store. So, I mean, he's still leaving the house at this point. So, but only to do things to get Jimmy and Kim hosed. He's not going to Jamba Juice,
right?
Or a bar. He's only doing things to sandbag his brother.
That pisses Jimmy off too, because he's like, he even said in the first season, he was like, when he realized that Chuck had called Howard and said, "Don't let Jimmy be a part of the Sandpiper, that old folks home that was scamming the old people."
Right.
And when he realized it, he was more offended that he made the phone call, and that he was like, "You dealt with that burning on your face just to stop me from getting this this job." And that's a lot of what he goes through. He goes to a copy store. He does a bunch of things in it, and this is the precursor to something I'm so excited for, which is the trial of Jimmy McGill. But there's the dissolving of the relationship between HHM and Kim Wexler happens in the season. I for some reason have it in my brain that was longer. But
Me
this
too.
show is so fun to binge. It's such a great binge. It's incredibly enjoyable. I binged it before because every time a new season would come, I would rewatch it.
Yeah.
But it's a really great binge.
Oh, I bet. And there's so much happening. Like, I don't know many other shows that have like two lines of stories going on that are like the whole Mike and the
Right.
cartel. That could be its own show.
Right.
And then Jimmy and like it's almost two unbelievable shows that get braided together.
And they randomly just intertwine and then go back away from each other.
It just makes for watching it just so enjoyable.
Right.
Whereas if you're watching Ozark, it's just about Marty Bird. You know what I mean? Like most shows are just one line. Bravo Vince. We haven't said Bravo Vince in a long time
Yeah, we
on a
had that meme.
but yeah, no, I can imagine. I did not binge watch it, and I'm sure I will at some point. I have a 15-year-old son, and I really want to watch Breaking Bad with him first.
That would be so cool. That's enough
then,
reason to have a kid for me. That's it.
It's fun once they get old enough where you can actually enjoy your hobbies with them instead of just like wipe their butt and make sure they don't choke on grapes.
Which you stopped when he was 13? 13?
I still wipe it sometimes. He calls me now. He's like, Daddy, wipe me. And I have to run upstairs. He likes to be wiped from the back to front, which is odd because it's.
I don't know why I wind Dan up and expect it not to happen.
You throw a softball at me, I'm going to hit it. What do you want from me?
So, are there movies that you go over them, and then we'll move right on from this? But is there like, are you showing them already? You're showing them R-rated movies now, right?
Yeah, but it's fun too. Sometimes we'll watch like an R-rated from the 80s or 90s, like a Die Hard or a Terminator. And you know what's funny about those movies? They're not. They say the R word a lot, like retard, a lot, and it's cringy. Like when you hear some of those words that are just ugh. They got away with a lot in the 80s and 90s that they could not get away with.
Yeah, that's why it was called R-rated.
Yeah. Oh, no.
But that was even in the early 2000s, something like that. It was a regular word, like saying dummy, idiot, like pretty G-rated insults. Like I bet it's even in some Disney movies. I wouldn't be surprised. But
it's in Beauty and the Beast. But you know what movie we watched, which was hard to watch, was Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, which was so funny. And Jim Carrey
stupid and you didn't know what was.
Well, it's stupid, and he's really good in it. But there's this. It's all about. It's like transphobic. The entire funny thing in it is that she's a man,
right?
And it was like.
I was talking to somebody the other day about it. I was like, that is like would not fly now. Like
it's just not funny.
He puts a plunger on his face. Yeah, he's like because it's a man, and I kissed her. It's a whole scene of it, and
everyone's just spitting and puking. It's dumb.
Yeah, I agree.
Whatever.
And on. You know what? You know what we need to do? Let's cancel Jim Carrey. Let's cancel Jim Carrey immediately.
Why not?
So yeah, Mike in this is early on. Nacho goes to him and says, "Kill Tuco for me." So because I don't want Breaking Bad to happen. So kill Tuco for me. And Mike's like, I'll probably be better off if Breaking Bad doesn't happen. So I'll kill Tuco because then that will make that not happen. And ultimately everybody's life would be better. If he killed Tuco right there, everybody's lives would have ended up better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Mike wouldn't have gone to jail, or Mike wouldn't have had to do that. Jesse Pinkman.
He never would have met Gus. He would have never met Gus, your cat, or Gus.
No. This is funny.
Tonight you got to meet both.
I didn't name my cat Gus after Gus Fring, but that would be funny if I did.
Yeah.
Mike is funny too right now because these are very low level crimes. He's sort of like he's not Gus's like enforcer, and it's very simple. But then again, he's like sniping and creating like the fire hose tire puncture thing. Yeah. Like he's very MacGyver in this season.
This is a word I use for it, and I've used this many times in podcasts, the term competence porn.
And I love that. Yeah.
And that's all Mike is. It just shows him doing something competently, and they do the same pattern. And you can see it happening every single time. He's executing a plan. You have no idea what he's doing.
Yeah.
No idea what he's doing. And you find out at the end, but you're so fascinated because he's so competent at it. There's that happens in movies a lot where you just see somebody really good at something and you don't know what they're doing and it doesn't matter. You're still telling the story just by seeing them so good at something. And the fact that you don't know what it is makes it seem like they're even that much better. Like when you're like, not only do I not know how to do this, I don't even, my brain can't even comprehend these things you're doing. He's sitting there drilling holes in exact measurements. And Kaylee, his granddaughter, is helping him out. And, he's doing it to rob somebody. And, Hector Salamanca becomes a villain in this. I love Nacho's presence on the show because he's such a neutral character. Like he's not a bad guy. He's not a good guy. You're not rooting for him. You're not rooting against. Yeah, he's on the bad guy's side, but
and he's probably killed people and done bad things. But this is why this show's good because it makes you feel empathy for a bad person.
But in general, he's not an antagonist against our characters.
Not in our show.
Yeah, I mean, at no point in Breaking Bad yet, as far as I can remember. No, I'm sorry. In Better Call Saul, as far as I can remember, is he ever an antagonist? And in fact, he's an audience surrogate at some point to show how scary Gus is. Because when that happens, that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to You Are Mine. That's my favorite scene of the whole show so far. It's so great. Also, I would remiss if I did not recall a funny story about how our podcast, with just by being linked to a Twitter feed, was a part of a conspiracy being uncovered for Better Call Saul. Because shout out to Shakita, because she's fucking decoded the first letter of every single episode. Shakita, I'll tell you exactly what I thought when that first happened. When you first sent it, every first letter starts with I'm sorry, the first letter of every title of this season spells out "Frings back," because that's that kind of twist at the very end. When Shakita first sent it, she was like, I figured this out. And I was just like, Shakita got that somewhere. She saw it. She saw it somewhere.
Yeah, it's Hulu.
And I was just like, oh, that's really dope. But she probably found that somewhere and, blah, 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 blah. I figured the whole internet knew it at that point, and I just wasn't really tapped into it. And then we got confirmation from Vince Gilligan that Shakita is the person, the first person in the world to crack that. And that tweet went completely viral, and she had tweeted to us. So we, in essence, went viral. She shot us to the moon, made us what we are today, with all of these people listening. Shakita, I think she said, "Wow, I hope that's not because I didn't believe you." I didn't really think that your statement of you discovering it was that. I didn't think you meant it that seriously, and. Yeah, and then it sure enough wasn't. And then once it really went like viral, I was like, dang, Shakita actually did. I still don't know how you did that. She just was writing out episode titles at some point and somehow coded it. But
I wonder if there's other things like that. Can you find something else? Shakita, like dig into that. There's got to be other Easter eggs.
I mean, I'm trying to crack into the Federal Reserve. And we need Shakita. We need
I'm in Better Call Saul stuff. Not.
Oh no, I just want money. I just want money.
Maybe she can tell you what NFT to buy.
Yeah. Help me figure out what's going to be the next big crypto investment. Anyway, very impressive. And this was the season that happened. And now we get Gus back. I don't really remember Mike and Gus starting up together. So I'm really excited to see that. You want to know what I'm really not looking forward to?
What?
The fucking Germans and the tunneling the lab.
Werner.
Not looking forward to that.
Not for with Werner?
Yeah, for Werner.
That was kind of a long, there's a lot of montages and things. And yeah, but I think that's important to show the lengths that Mike would go for Gus. It's a heartbreaking scene, when he kills him. But you're right. That was a bit of a slog. That's what, fourth season?
I think it's the fourth season.
Okay. Yeah,
maybe
else?
Maybe it's the newest season. Honestly, maybe it is.
You'll have to tell me when we get there.
I barely remember what happened. Dude, the last season, guys, COVID had just broken out. Like,
yeah,
it was
crazy.
the last new content we got in COVID for a long time. So I remember the last scene of it.
Yeah.
I don't remember much else. I really don't remember much else. I have no idea. Except no, I don't remember. So it'll be exciting to see when we get to that.
One thing that when I was reading the wiki that was good for me to remember was obviously Kim and Howard don't really get along, and this season really showed why, because he was shitty to her. He kind of tried to steal. He didn't give her any credit for Sandpiper or Jimmy. He stole the Mesa Verde business from her. And then when she kind of got it back, he treated her like absolute shit.
He's a douchebag
in this season. So maybe later on, if you thought like, no, they don't deserve that, like Howard doesn't deserve it, he deserves it. I mean, and he's very gray. Like there is parts of him that are a decent guy. And this season, I think they're going to go to war for sure.
Yeah,
but it's founded.
I'll say Howard had this like redemption of. Oh, by the way, shout out to Alfonso in the chat who said he's listening to the season 1 recap. Shout out to you. I don't know if that means that you're not listening to this one because it's the season 2 recap. When Howard was first revealed that he wasn't the one against Jimmy, we were like, oh, he's actually a good guy. And then that's not the case.
No.
I mean, he is in that situation, but like he was putting Kim in a doghouse that she didn't belong in. Now, maybe Chuck was putting pressure on there, but the show never confirmed that. The show made it seem like he never really had it out for Kim, but I think that would have made him a little too unlikable if we found that out.
Yeah.
I think Howard is just great at being unlikable. But they don't just make him a mustache twirling villain, like when he yells at Kim and says, "This is none of your business," about Jimmy in the first season. And then she's about to leave. And he's like, "Wait, stop." And he tells her that it was Chuck.
Yeah.
But you can't tell Jimmy. And she doesn't. She's
what if that was a lie? Did Chuck ever confirm that?
That Chuck was the one that was, he did. That he was the one stopping Jimmy.
Yeah.
Kim is such a great character.
Yeah.
I mean, and Ray Seahorn elevates her character so much. She's just such a natural at being a natural person. Like I don't have any doubts that we really kind of know who who Ray Seahorn is as a person a little bit. I think that there's a lot of her personality that must be shining through.
Has she ever acted in anything else since this?
Nothing that I've ever seen. I think she's in something coming up.
It's tough because this is such an iconic role for her that, like, maybe she needs to do like a comedy with I don't know, who's a funny actor, like Tom Hanks or something.
He's a funny actor, Tom Hanks.
Well, I meant like a comedy. I could do a Tom Hanks comedy. Two things about Kim in this season, which are really great. Just classic things are her and Jimmy do the con at the dinner with like their whole, what's her, like Giselle?
Yeah, with the Bluetooth guy.
Yes. And then they get the tequila topper and like, they do that whole thing.
Yeah.
And this is sort of when, because Kim now is 100% anti, don't break the rules. Do not, everything has to be by the book, 100%. And then her little
Whitney, according to Greg.
Oh, she was in the Whitney TV show with okay.
Thank you, Greg, in the chat.
She, what was I getting at? Anyway, in the show, she's like gray, maybe. And she does these tiny little things. Say your job.
Yeah. Siren is passing by, which makes her have to talk to her ancestors.
Okay. You should have said it was a lady. You got a lady back there.
It's really adorable. I mean, I can't really even get mad at it. It's about to get worse. I'm keeping this in the podcast. I don't give a shit anymore.
I mean, I would recommend not, but that's okay. Go
ahead. Hey, Mamba, stop. Good girl. But another thing too is we see Mike's moral compass in this. At the beginning, he goes along with what Hector Salamanca says for money. And then we're like, okay, how is he going to let that go? And then
real quick, let me interrupt you real fast. He's not doing it just for money, for fun. There's a lot about how he wants to get Kaylee and his daughter-in-law a better house. So that's why he's like obsessed with getting money.
Right. Yeah. And the show goes through great lengths to do that because he's not a man of greed. He's a man of needing to take care of his family.
Right.
He's a man of pride. And, but
he lives in a shithole. His house is like a shithole.
And he goes and he steals from them. At the beginning, you're like, oh, he's taking that. He's moving on with it. But then he's obsessed with them because they threatened his daughter. And he's like, no, we can't have that.
Right.
And then he kind of stalks and finds a way that he can hurt them. And he does. But in doing that, Hector then goes and kills a random passerby who helped the truck driver.
Right.
And he then the driver is tortured and killed too.
Right.
And yeah, it's and Mike's like, this guy has to go.
Yeah.
It reminds me of far be it for me to make a Heat film reference, but about Robert De Niro's character Macaulay having an issue with Waingro and being like, I don't care what happens, like this guy has to go. He is the alignment chart, a chaotic evil.
I've never seen Heat, so I know it's like your favorite movie. I gotta watch that. Maybe I'll watch it with my kids.
Yeah, it's really fucking good. That's why I'm always fucking talking about it.
I'm sure it's excellent.
I'm not mad at you.
That's okay.
Thank you for being honest with me, man. You're usually not honest with me, so I appreciate that. But yeah, that's a really great part about him, and they just do a really good job. I love that they picked Mike to be such a big character in the show. And Lalo. Well, that's something that we have to look forward to is Lalo.
Oh yeah. Well, what I was gonna say about Mike is he has such intense guilt over his son that now he's really just kind of, not to say overcompensating for his granddaughter and stuff like that, but yeah, I mean, the lengths he's going to now at this point to sort of make good on his boy getting killed is the win thing.
It's weird when his daughter-in-law calls him Pop Pop, though. That's weird.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, but she's saying it usually to Kaylee, like, hey, Pop Pop. She's not.
No, one time she said thank you, Pop Pop, to him when they were having a private conversation. I'm not saying that she always calls him that. It's possible that she doesn't, but it was a little weird and creepy, and I don't want it in my show, and I'm going to make sure it never happens again.
You might want to look into that. I don't know why.
But then this ending, it's so funny with no matter how bad it gets with Chuck and him, Jimmy has this idea that he's like, well, I still love him. He's my brother. And he's mentally unstable. I think he sometimes thinks that some of the things Chuck is doing is because he's mentally unstable. And, I also love when he does this scam for Mesa Verde to get Kim to get it by embarrassing his brother by switching the address from 2016 to 2106.
That was a great montage scene where he's going through every one of them.
They kill it with montage on the show.
They're the best. No one does montages better.
Montages had gotten stale since Rocky IV. But they're having this. I am bullish on montages now after Better Call Saul. How's that?
Okay, Jim Cramer, roll up your sleeves and say
I'm investing. I am investing in montages. They're having their day. And Kodak,
the photo company.
Yeah, I'm investing in it.
Okay, good.
That's great.
The thing about that episode too is So Jimmy realizes that Chuck is suspicious. So that's why Jimmy goes back to that coffee shop to bribe the kid who works there. Ernie sees him, and then there's that great scene where Chuck goes in there and he gets all electromagnetic, freaked out, falls, hits his head. Jimmy's seeing all this, and then it leaves us a cliffhanger of like, is Jimmy going to let his brother just like die in there, or is he going to actually go in there? Ultimately, he does go in there, but so much tension, and
that scene's so good because he's sitting there. He's like, oh, like you see him spring forward and then stop, and then spring forward and stop, and he's like, come on, call 911, call 911. Spring forward and stop, and then he doesn't care if he goes to jail.
Right.
And Ernesto,
I know,
covers for him, and he said, "I always liked you, Jimmy." What Ernesto? We all need homies like Ernesto. I unfortunately do not have any homies like Ernesto, but I'm looking forward to it.
No, I wouldn't cover for you. I'd be like,
you'd be like, "Oh, dude, no, he's definitely
he did it. He's shitty."
But here's the thing: is he just comes in there and says, "Call 911."
Right.
And I'm like, Ernesto couldn't have figured to do that. Like, all he does is says, "Call 911."
Well, and Jimmy still, as trying to be a good guy so bad, he admits to Chuck in the next episode. He admits to Chuck, "I did it. You're not going crazy. I'm the one who did it."
Fuck you.
Is that what he says?
Yeah, it's the one F word.
The one F word
season.
Oh, nice.
And he says, "I rat fucked you,"
and then he's recording it, and he's got it on tape. I mean, who does recording your own brother?
And you realize that he was been setting him up the whole time. Like he did this elaborate. Like even when rewatching the scene, I was really thinking about it. And even when he gets to the house, he wants to record him. He's already recording it.
Yeah.
And when Jimmy comes up and he's like, "Let me in, Chuck," and he's like, "I'm doing something. Go away." He's just acting. He's saying it just to add to the story that he's not, because he knows Jimmy's going to persist, and he knows that Jimmy loves him and Jimmy's not going to let him suffer, and he's going to admit it.
Yeah.
And he fell for it hook, line, and sinker.
He really did. And that's the thing. That's why we love Jimmy so much, because in his heart of hearts, he's a great guy. And there's another great episode this season I was reading. It's the flashback where Chuck is with his wife. And it's that great episode. They're making dinner, and Jimmy just comes in there effortlessly and charms her. She likes him, and that drives Chuck crazy. Like even just something as simple as that. And this season also had that episode you mentioned last week where their mom's dying and she calls out for Jimmy, because clearly Jimmy is the bigger hearted brother, and that's the kind of person you want to call out for. What's up, Fonzie in the chat just said Chuck was a bad brother. He was. I mean, look, he might have inspired him. Sizzling hot take. He might have inspired him to become a lawyer, but that's not how you treat a brother or a friend.
Chuck is mentally ill. He has serious issues, and he has obsession. He has OCD, and
which made him a good lawyer. I mean, come on.
No, I mean, think about how much professional athletes they have mental illnesses that they have honed into giving them an obsession, and that is like a huge benefit to them. There's mental illnesses you could have that really help your career, but really don't help your family situations or your social situations. And Chuck's attention to detail is extremely good, but then he's also noticing the detail. He's like, my wife finds Jimmy funny, and she definitely likes humor. And later, he says a lawyer joke, and she's like, "What? I'm sorry." And he's like, "Oh, I was just saying a joke." She's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. Whoops.
And it's over. But yeah, Chuck ultimately was jealous of Jimmy. That's what it all comes down to. And it's not that he's disappointed in him. It's that he's jealous that he's had to work so much harder to get where he is, and Jimmy can just squeak in there and get it. It doesn't matter that he thinks Jimmy can't help himself. It doesn't matter that he finds the law to be sanctimonious and all that. It's that he is jealous of Jimmy, and he cannot stand to see Jimmy succeed in the ways that Chuck had the advantage on him.
Right.
He's like, we can't even the playing field.
If they could have teamed up, if Chuck could have somehow gotten over it, leaned into it. They could have been incredible partners, both sides of the law, the brains and the heart. But instead, he burned himself up in his house like a crazy man. Committed suicide. I never really thought of it like when you put it like that. It sounds so cut and dry. You think of him doing, I don't know, hanging himself or something. But he truly did commit suicide
Well,
because,
not to get too dark of a conversation, but the way you
yeah,
commit suicide says a lot about you and what you want, how you want to be remembered. Like if you
yeah,
shoot yourself, this is dark conversation, sorry, but if you shoot
yeah.
yourself, you know somebody's going to find that, and they're never
Yeah,
going to.
probably
It's
one of
going to
your
become
family members.
right. You know, a family member is probably going to find that, right?
Yeah.
So that's saying something. Like you're sending a message at that point, and
Yeah.
there's going to be no question that you committed suicide. Nobody's going to wonder. You know,
Yeah,
everyone's going to say he
maybe.
committed suicide. He shot himself in the head. What Chuck did is he committed suicide in a way that could also make it like people
Seems like an
wouldn't know.
accident.
Yeah, it could be an accident.
Yeah, that's true.
And
That's fair. I see where
that
you're
says
going with this.
something about it too. I mean, we know because we saw it on the show, but
Hmm.
Chuck always also seemed to have a sense of pride in even his suicide, and that's
Hmm.
obviously for a conversation for next week because that's the end
Yeah.
of season 3. But anyway, last thing before we wrap this bad boy up, we got to wrap it up before we zap it up. You know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
Dan Fields?
I no. Yes. Go ahead.
Well, one thing I'm bothered by is you got to use capitals in your Twitter handle at the bottom.
Oh, or is it Dan the Beast? It looks
Right.
like
Yeah.
Don't the Best.
Yeah. Somebody could be like, "Who's Donth Ebest?"
Okay, I'll fix
Ebest.
that for the next
But
go.
secondly, yeah, where can people follow you on the internet? Just so we know.
You follow me at Don't Be Asked, whatever you said it was.
Donth
Don't
Ebest.
don't be asked on Twitter or Instagram or whatever.
Or
Baloney.
Dan the Beast. And you can follow me at Shuckster, SCHUCKSTER. One more thing we got to talk about before we end is
Yeah.
the gene scene.
Oh yeah.
I wish we had gene scene music. That would have been that's smart to even say gene scene. Never thought of that. Maybe I've
Mm,
said it in every podcast episode and I just don't
mm.
remember. But in this episode, in the first episode, Gene gets locked in a back room when throwing trash out, and he had to wait there all night. And through his boredom, he carved "SG was here"
Yeah.
into the
But
wall.
something important too is he could have pushed. When I read the recap, he could have gotten out, but it would have done the emergency. The police would have came, and if the police come, then there's going to be a report. There's going to be this, that, and the other. And so he sat there and waited because he couldn't risk having the police come or security come
And
or
he was there
anything
all
like
night.
that. Yeah, yeah.
One thing I never really understood, I know that somebody could easily write in, and if you write
Hmm.
in, bettertalksaul@gmail.com,
Yeah.
about what being the lawyer of these criminals, what that means, what punishment he'd be facing, or why he had to change his identity so much when he can't say, "Hey, I'm a lawyer." These people are allowed to get like what I know there's more to it than that, but there's something I must be forgetting that happened with him that
They never
is
showed it. You mean
right
from Breaking Bad?
from Breaking Bad. Yeah, I mean they easily could have showed it. Somebody could just talk about an episode that I'm not even connecting the dots on. But I don't see
Well,
how he can't be like, "Hey, I was their lawyer. I was not involved in any of their legal activities or anything like that." But
no, because I think the way he did what he did was because he was worried about being killed. It wasn't because he was worried about going to jail. So I think he
killed
is
by
it
who?
Breaking
Who was left to kill him though?
that I feel like this episode season of Better Call Saul's got to kind of get to the heart of that. Maybe it's Lalo.
Oh man.
Um, no, you're
Um,
right because you know what you're right because this season ends and then Breaking Bad starts. So what happens during Breaking Bad that makes him go Gene style? They're gonna figure that out. They will have to tell us. I think he was just worried about being killed.
Fonzie
Maybe.
in the chat said he was worried about being killed, just like you said.
Yeah.
But
I think
that's
that's
what I'm
right.
wondering is who is left to kill him. But maybe that is something we'll find out because, like Walter Jr. or Flynn,
Finn.
Finn, maybe
Yeah,
Holly when she gets older, she's just gonna be an assassin.
she's gonna give him the what is the poison that they gave to Brock?
Bryson.
No, or no, the
Oh,
lilies
Lily
of
of
the
the
valley.
Valley.
Yeah,
Lily of the
yeah.
Valley.
They'll give him
Um,
that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, dude, it's gonna be so fun to watch that show with your sons.
Yeah, I can't wait.
But yeah, I guess it's being killed, but I don't know who is left to kill him. But there's more. There has to be more to some of these cartels than we're realizing. But the cartels were kind of done with once during the final season after Gus Fring was
The
killed.
Nazis. Maybe it was the Nazis. Oh, he
But
killed
they're
all
all
the
dead
Nazis.
too. I know that he didn't know that, but
I don't know.
So he Fonzie also brings up a good point. They show a new character at the end of the Saul trailer. Remember when we watched that last week? We were like, "What the fuck?" We had no idea what that was and what that meant. And on the internet, I also see that nobody else knows who he is too. Somebody said another one, so people are pointing out he looks like Lalo. I'm assuming that it's Lalo's father, and he's probably going to be Hector Salamanca's brother or something like that. Yeah, he looked like.
Yeah, maybe you're just a brother. Maybe not his dad. His dad would be like 55, 60.
Yeah.
Was he that old?
Could be.
I
think that'd be if it's the brother of Hector Salamanca, or would that make him the? Would that be?
No, because he probably would have been in the flashback scene when Gus killed everyone. Or, or not Gus. Yeah, was it Gus? No, wasn't there a flashback scene with Gus where he was potentially gay with somebody?
Yeah.
So maybe he would have been
I don't think that was potentially. They insinuated, but I think it's very clear, especially with his obsession to hurt Hector Salamanca, that it definitely was somebody he loved.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think that all because that he would have to have been in that scene. Like he just wasn't.
I'm just trying to think who was there. Like, wasn't that was other cartel
here's
people?
A hot prediction coming right off the press, and then we'll let you go to your elderberries.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Is that one of these villains is going to survive Better Call Saul? They're going to be hiding out or fucking off somewhere else during Breaking Bad. They don't have to be around for every event. So they weren't around for Breaking Bad. And then they are going to come for retribution for Saul or something like that. Or there's going to be some type of Gene scene with somebody. Like, we got to.
Oh, you mean Gene? Because Gene's now worried because of the cab driver potentially thought that he was him. Like, someone is trying to find Gene.
Right.
Maybe it's Nacho. Isn't there a scene in Breaking Bad where he's like, "Who sent you, Nacho?"
Yeah.
Or
he said Ignacio.
So Nacho, I'm guessing, means doesn't die.
Nacho is Ignacio. So he says, he's like, it was it wasn't me for Lalo. It was Ignacio. And at that time, it seemed like a joke, but that actually set up the entire plot for Better Call Saul.
You know what that makes me want to say? Bravo, Vince.
Bravo, Vince. All right, we'll wrap this up. But if anybody wants to be a part of this conversation, just like Greg and Fonzie and Alfonso and Shakita and Sam and George and Bill and Greg, there's 2 Gregs there. No, some of those names I made up. But join us by coming on the live stream. I know it's late for you East Coasters and international people, but it's fun, and it's so much better when we have people during the chat. When people say little things that are actually useful to the conversation, it's fun. It's awesome. So that's useful. And sometimes we're like, we don't know something and we have to wait for emails chewing us out later. You guys joining us in the chat saves us from being chewed out potentially later. So we really appreciate it.
I like that a lot.
And like I said, Dan, like if we could have done this earlier, we would have been, if we could have had this live streaming like this is it's just perfect. So anyway, like I said, there's no link to it. So just go to Better Talk Saul on Twitter, and you can follow a link to it there. Just subscribe. Anybody that's listening, if you like the stream also. And then another thing, you can email bettertalksaul@gmail.com if you want to talk to us about it. Or if you don't use Twitter and you want to get the YouTube stream, you can email and I'll respond and give you the link to it too. So I got nothing better to do than respond to you guys because I love you.
And why not? Why not?
Dan already said we can follow us, and like I said, we can follow everybody. But at Better Talk Saul, thank you for everybody for joining the chat. We really appreciate it. And Wednesdays at 8 p.m. we're going to be streaming them live. So that's it. I'm Dylan Shuck.
I'm Dan Fields.
And we'll see you next week.